Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to read from our horror short stories collection. This story was written by one of our subscribers. We have done quite a few videos from this collection, and I always love when subscribers send me their stories for me to read. If you would like to submit your story to me, all the details will be in the description. Now let's meet our author. Nikita says, I am Nikita. I love reading your stories, and they really inspired me to write one myself. This is my first horror story. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Nikita. I think it's wonderful that you were inspired by our stories to write your own. I can't wait to read it. And now, without further ado, let's get into the story. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the story. The old wooden door creaked open slowly, revealing a dark room with a single window, letting in a sliver of moonlight. I stepped inside, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Dust motes danced in the pale light, swirling around me in hypnotic patterns. An unnerving silence hung in the air, broken only by the rhythmic drip of a leaky pipe somewhere in the darkness. My gaze fell upon a worn-out diary lying on an antique desk in the corner. Its leather cover was as dark as midnight, and the pages within seemed to whisper secrets from beyond the grave. Curiosity gnawed at me, urging me to open it. As I did, a musty odor filled my nostrils, bringing with it the scent of decay and forgotten memories. Suddenly, a piercing screech echoed through the room, causing me to jump and spill ink from the bottle in my hand. I whipped around, searching for the source of the noise, but saw nothing in the shadows. Had it been a cat? A branch scraping against the window pane in the wind? I tried to rationalize, but a prickle of unease crawled up my spine. As I continued reading the diary, the unsettling feeling intensified. Each turn of the page brought me closer to the darkness that permeated these crumbling walls. And then I came across an entry dated July 12, 1943. The ink was faded, but the words leaped off the page, as if the writer had just put pen to paper moments before. Today, the shadows in this house seemed to dance with a sinister glee, taunting me with their silent mockery. I feel watched, not by friendly eyes, but by unseen presences that lurk just beyond my perception. The nights are the worst. The darkness deepens, amplifying the whispers that echo through the halls. They speak in tongues unknown, yet their meaning is clear. They do not wish me well. I close my eyes and see grotesque figures with eyes like burning coals. Their laughter, a discordant symphony that chills me to the bone. There is something in this house, something malevolent that feeds on my fear. It grows stronger with each passing day, drawing me closer to its dark embrace. I fear for my sanity, for I know that if it claims me, I may never return. I shivered, even though the room was stiflingly hot. The words seemed to burn into my mind, igniting a primal fear within me. Could this house be haunted? Was I in danger? Dismissing my fears as the product of an overactive imagination, I decided to spend the night in this very room, determined to uncover the truth behind the diary's haunting entries. After all, I was a skeptic, a man of science who relied on reason and logic to navigate the world. Ghosts, demons, supernatural entities, they were all figments of superstition and folklore. I scoffed at the mere notion of them. Yet as the night wore on, the line between the rationale and the absurd blurred. Strange things began to happen, things that defied explanation. I felt an icy presence brush against my skin, sending shivers down my spine. Then I heard footsteps in the attic above me, slow, deliberate steps that seemed to mock my growing terror. Each creak of the floorboard, every rustle of wind through the trees outside sent me into a frenzy of fear. The diary lay open on the desk before me, its words a grim reminder of the darkness that enveloped me. The moonlight cast eerie shadows that twisted and contorted, taking on menacing forms that loomed over me. Driven by a morbid curiosity, I climbed the creaking stairs to the attic, my heart pounding in my chest. The air grew colder as I ascended, and by the time I reached the top, I was shivering uncontrollably. I flicked on the lone bare bulb, its feeble light doing little to pierce the gloom. As my eyes adjusted to the dim lighting, I saw it. A rocking chair swaying gently back and forth as if propelled by an unseen force. Paralyzed with fear, I watched, unable to tear my gaze away from the grotesque spectacle. Then I heard it again, the piercing screech that had shattered the silence of the night. It seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. I stumbled back, knocking over a porcelain doll that lay on a dusty shelf. It crashed to the floor, its lifeless eyes staring vacantly. I fled, racing down the stairs and back to the safety of the main room. I slammed the door behind me and fumbled for the lock, desperately trying to keep whatever was up there at bay. But it was no use. The darkness seeped into my bones, and I knew that I could never escape it. The night was far from over. In fact, it had just begun. For as long as I could remember, I had always loved stories. When I was younger, my mom would read me spooky stories every night before bed. But the best ones were the ones she didn't know, the ones she'd make up on the spot. She'd tell me about witches and warlocks, about haunted houses and ghostly apparitions. And with each tale, I'd cling to her, burying my face in her shoulder, seeking comfort from the shadows that danced on my bedroom walls. It was during those nights that my fascination with the darker aspects of life took root. I became intrigued by the things that went bump in the night, by the whispers of the dead that brushed against my ear. And so I delved into books, devouring tales of terror and horror. Immersing myself in worlds where the veil between the living and the dead was paper thin. Years passed, and my love for the macabre only grew stronger. I collected ghost stories, urban legends, myths, and folklore, each one adding another layer to my understanding of the darkness that lurked just beyond our perception. Then I discovered the internet, a vast digital realm where the darkest corners of the human imagination were laid bare. I spent countless hours exploring message boards, reading about terrifying encounters, unsolved mysteries, and chilling cases that made the hair on my neck stand on end. But it was the personal accounts that resonated with me the most. The stories of ordinary people whose lives had been touched by the extraordinary, by the unexplainable, by the supernatural. I learned about poltergeists that shook entire households to their core. I read about ghosts that appeared and disappeared at will, haunting their victims with cryptic messages or simply their chilling presence. One story that stands out vividly in my memory is the tale of a young woman who moved into an old Victorian house with her boyfriend. They were excited to start their new life together in the grand old house, but soon realized that they were not alone. Strange things began to happen almost immediately. Objects moved on their own, whispers echoed through the empty halls, and the couple began to see the ghost of a young girl who had died in the house years ago. At first, they tried to ignore the strange occurrences, chalking them up to an overactive imagination or a draft. But as the paranormal activity intensified, they were forced to confront the reality that they were living in a haunted house. They eventually decided to move out, unable to bear the constant fear and uncertainty that had become their everyday lives. Another story that continues to haunt me is that of a man who bought an antique mirror at a flea market. He brought the mirror home and hung it in his hallway, unaware that he had just unleashed a torrent of evil into his life. Soon after, his family began to suffer. His wife became pregnant and miscarried, his children became sick, and he himself was plagued by nightmares. He soon realized that the mirror was the source of his misfortune, and that it was cursed. Desperate to break the curse, he took the mirror back to the flea market, only to find that it was too late. The damage had already been done. These are just two of the countless stories that I have amassed over the years, each one a testament to the strange and terrifying things that exist in our world, hidden just beyond our sight. And it's not just stories that captivate me. I'm also fascinated by the psychology of horror. Why are we drawn to the dark side of humanity? What is it about death, pain, and suffering that intrigues us so much? I've delved into the works of psychologists and sociologists who have sought to understand our fascination with all things macabre. I've learned that our love of horror is rooted in our primal fear of the unknown, our fascination with death, and our desire to confront our deepest fears head-on. Through understanding the psychology of horror, I've been able to explore my own inner demons, facing my fears and confronting the darkness that lies within us all. So if you're like me and you find solace in the darkness, I invite you to join me on this journey of discovery. Let's delve into the world of horror together, exploring the things that go bump in the night and the secrets that lie hidden in the shadows. Who knows what we might find, but one thing is certain, we'll never look at the world in the same way again.